segment of our weekly episode, the Stopping the Violence in America. Just a little history. We started this webinar really dealing with the issue and the concern with guns and gun violence in America, which has escalated to levels that are, in some respects, astronomical. You just hear people being shot every day, all the time in America and also across the world. But as we start dealing with the guns, we also start realizing that there are other ways to deal with it. Gun violence, not only with, curbing or reducing the sales of guns or how many guns are being brought into the United States or taking guns from, owners, to really begin to look at it from another additional angle, because we have to look at all angles, but additional angle, and that is dealing with the root causes. What are the root causes? My favorite quote is, the gun is an inanimate object. A weapon is an inanimate object. It's the people who pick it up is where the concern and where the rubber meets the road. They pick it up. Why are they picking up? What is the anger problems? What are the hate problems? What are the insensitivity problems that causes people to be numb to the fact that they're taking the lives of their fellow man or fellow woman or their brother and sister in reality, or just a fellow human being? And so we've had law enforcement officers coming on, and today we will have kind of a rerun of our law enforcement officers who are located in Macon, Georgia. But we've had community activists, we have mayors, and we have other political leaders that have come on, and most essential ones are the spiritual leaders, our faith leaders and our pastors that come on, and each one has taken a very interesting role in reducing the crime in their communities, in their environments, that has can be deemed as best practices because they have some results, something sustainable. And the word sustainable is used a lot, but and it's almost like a cliche, sustainability. But I like sustainability that you can measure. Let's measure the results, that you can look at statistically, this is working, statistically, this is not working. And so we have seen throughout the country, throughout the United States, these wonderful persons come on and share their best practices that you can see measurable results in reducing crime in their particular communities. And so today I thought that we will deal with the law enforcement officers from Macon, Georgia, Sheriff David Davis, if you remember him. And then once he came on and gave some introduction, we had Sheriff Reggie Thomas Lieutenant Reggie Thomas to come on. And he really came on with a force to say, what are some of the other areas of influence that are helping or engendering our young people to partake in violent behavior? And that was the social media. Social media is playing a very intricate role in engendering violent behavior within the minds of our young people, because there's so many violent programs on there, so many violent games. The games are violent. And then the people out there with different opinions and different ways of handling things. It's almost like to get your guns, your 6-shooters out and shoot someone. It's almost glamorized, that kind of type of social media is out there. So without any further ado, we'd like to run our recording with Sheriff David Davis of Bitt County, Macon, Georgia, and then of course Lieutenant Reggie will come on. So why don't we roll the cameras and move forward and open up for some discussion as well after they have spoken.
Law enforcement, men and women to share with us as well, because they play a very intricate part in this process. But what we're also learning is that they can't do it alone. They have to do it with the community stakeholders that may be advocates or social programs or the church or various other areas of outreach programs that there are in those communities in tandem with our law enforcement officers. Today we have the great pleasure of having Lieutenant Chris Dunn, Lieutenant Reginald Thomas, and also their superior officer, Captain George Meadow from Macon, Georgia, to share with us their views and how they feel they're right there, right there in the smack in the middle of all the situations, but how they feel the best way to begin to reduce the violence. And we know that sometimes the violence occur in certain targeted areas. And so we're looking forward to sharing with them, hearing from them what they feel. Today, I would like to ask, I don't know if the captain, George Meadow, would like to give some opening greetings. That would be great. And then from there, we would like to hear from Lieutenant Chris Dunn. Captain, do you have something that you'd like to share, some opening remarks or just some opening greetings?
Sure.
Share.
Good afternoon from the Bibb County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff David Davis. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to participate in this. It's very important to us that we share some ideas from all the sources that are available to us in the community. I'm going to yield the floor to Lieutenants Thomas and Dunn, since they are like much more in the field than I am. I'm really like a desk writer and sort of in a managerial position. So these two guys are out there in the trenches. So I'm going to let them get started. Lieutenant Dunn, go ahead.
Excuse me. Good afternoon. I don't know why I'm choked up now, but yes, thank you for having us on and bringing greetings from Macon, Georgia, and where yes, every day we see this, and every day we're a part of it, and I guess every day we're working on trying to get our city better, to help prevent crimes and to make our city just a better place to live. I won't talk too much. I better let Lieutenant Thomas say hello, and I guess we can continue.
Doctor, thank you, Lieutenant Dunn, for sharing with us. Yeah, is that Lieutenant Thomas, Reginald Thomas?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Like to hear from you in the area of how we can begin to reduce the crime in our areas that face America, here in America.
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize for not being able to give y'all a bio of myself and a picture of myself as y'all requested. It's been very difficult times right here, but I would like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Reginald Thomas. I am a lieutenant with the Bibb County Sheriff's Office. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years. I've been in this world for over 50. I'm not going to tell my age. I know I don't look no older than 25. So we're going to leave it like that. But we're facing in Macon, Georgia, as well as the United States of America, all of us are facing the same problems. Our biggest problem is the lack of fear of God. We haven't gotten away from, hello?
Go right ahead, we hear you. Gotcha.
I was trying to say something. Young folks don't respect and fear what's real. I mean, you think about it, academically, we're behind. Uh, Financially, we're behind. And we have a lot, whoever the beings are, to fill our society with negativity. And when I say society, I'm talking about the way we talk to each other, the way we love each other, the way we listen to each other is in our social media circle. And our social media has a big influence on our culture. And I'm talking about the black on black crime right now. It is a tremendous, tremendous disadvantage for our culture because everything that's in it is negative. We're always talking about killing each other. We're always talking about selling drugs. We're always talking about robbery. We're always talking about gunplay, gun violence. We never talk about how to build a successful culture. It's not in our music. It's not in our reality shows. It's not in our TV shows. It's not on our Facebook. It's not on our TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Nothing we have that influence our young people is positive. Now, back in the day when I was growing up, my videos, my TikTok, my Instagram, my social media, my Facebook was my parents. It was my church leaders. It was my community leaders who always spoke positivity. I was born and raised in the hood, but the hood was never raised in me because I wanted more. I knew, I was taught to read. I was told about the other side of life. I knew that was a different part of what I was seeing. But even in the hood, even the crackheads, even the winos, even the drunks, even the prostitutes, they always preached something better. They wanted me to be better than what they were. We don't have that now because what I call an OG back in the day spoke positive to me. But the OG today try to take a young buck like I was and put them in the game. Excuse my English. For y'all to understand what I'm saying is that people that was in my community that were doing the best always encouraged me as a child to be better than what they were. But today it's like crab in the barrel. People don't want to see young people succeed, so they try to put them down. We force drugs on our children. We force fast life on our children. You got young girls 10 years old dressing and dancing like they 30 years old. And when they get that unwanted attention, everybody's up and on. But a child should stay in a child place, I believe. Let a child be a child. Let them enjoy their youth. Let them grow up. But I know parents out there dressing their children with wigs on already, child number 12 and 13. Fix that child here. I mean, if y'all want to have a real conversation, you got the right one. Now, I'm telling you. We having children out of wedlock, but this person has showed you nothing about them that's going to make them a man or a father. But yet you still sleep with them and have children. Same thing. Men, y'all out here trying to show you wild loads. You want to be Big Daddy. You want to be Big Daddy Kane, but you out here making babies by a woman ain't showed you not one time that she's ready to be a mother, that she's ready to raise a child in the right way. The moment we got away from God, we was done as a culture. We've always culturally stayed steadfast and stayed with God. And when we allowed people to come in and tell us we don't have to read, you don't have to write, you don't have to be educated. You could rap, you could dance, you could dribble a ball, and we fell for the trick. We've been downhill ever since. Who teaches violence? Where does violence come from? Where does hatred come from? Because we're all born with love. God is love. So if we're born with love, who's teaching this to us? We are. When I walk out my door, I'm not scared of anybody else but the people that are around me. You understand? You could be a victim to anything. But what I'm telling y'all, we got to get real. We got to get serious about taking back our culture. We got to do that. So good thing, but we don't talk about those people. Where everything we got is negative. What happened to the George Jefferson? We're moving on up. What happened to the Cosby Show? Well, one was a doctor, one was a lawyer. We don't portray that image nowhere. No, any place else. Why not? What happened to the music when we talked about love? When we talked about helping our brothers? When we talked about helping our sister? If you had water and somebody had Kool-Aid and somebody else had sugar, we had some Kool-Aid. What happened to that? We have allowed people to get away from that. We have allowed this negativity to infiltrate our culture, which as we are receiving what we put out there. If you put good gas in your car gonna run good. Good things gonna come out your car. You put gasoline in your car, you're gonna have a messed up engine. We putting bad gasoline in our children, and we wonder why they act the way they act. They're acting out what's in them. Number one selling toy now is a water gun. It's still a gun. It's still a gun. On PlayStation 5, all the videos about killing. They still using the gun. The remote control is still a gun. And what we allow on TikTok and all the other social media outlets, that's still a gun. So how we gonna get away from gun violence? How we gonna get away from violence? How we gonna get away from literacy when everything we do is shoving it in their face? So, if you ask me, that's how we're gonna have to change it. Hello?
Yes, Lieutenant Thomas, you came out the gate powerful, and you know, as a law enforcement person, I like that you started off with lack of God. God has left the community. God has left the moral construct of our community. But what I would say to you is that, and when you were talking, I remember when you were talking about the OGs, you know, that's our village talk. So those are the guys out there who, you know, the older guys who were, you know, living the street life, but, you know, making it out there. They would at least impart some positive words. You don't have to be like me. You go this way. So I do remember. I like what you said about that, because I was sharing with some other people, Lieutenant, that I remember back in my day on Easter Sunday, it was standing room only.
Correct.
And because that's when the prostitutes, the pimps, and everybody would at least go to church on Easter Sunday. They would show up on Easter Sunday.
Absolutely, you're right.
So I see Chris Dunn, you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. It would be standing room only. You know, we had to get to church early to get our seat. But that was a sign that there was still some principles, as you said, inculcated in the OGs somewhere along the line, you know, that was there. And that kind of stuff is filtering out. I agree. Another thing, and I'm going to open it up. One thing I was thinking about, because we're getting together with a lot of the pastors, some pastors on here and some other social leaders, on how we can bring the best practices into play within the community, working together. A lot of people have great things they're doing, and how do we bring together collaboratively? But one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about TikTok and all the images that are out there, you know, in our community, we never, two things. My father's a social worker. And you brought up Bill Cosby and George Jefferson and all those people. You know, the media is to say back in the 60s, I remember, that 50% of the African-American or poverty-stricken kids, especially African-Americans, they grow up with no father in the home. But see, they don't put on TV special documentaries every day to 50% that do. See, that's a paradigm shift. Right? That's a subliminal message that can be out there as well. That's why you were mentioning the Cosbys. And that plays a role in prevention crime. Secondly, I was thinking, when you have an isolated community, such as the poverty at risk community, so many times African-American community, some of the images that I realized when I started thinking about it last night was the images of the mafia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where we got our images from. I was watching a mafia program, and I said, they're talking just like the mafia, you know, and that's what we thought is cool. And that was our role models. So now you see the result of it, gangs and, inhumanity. They're so inhumane to one another. So that was some of the images that were out there that a lot of the community kids have been watching and been following. That's something we can think about. But I want to thank you so much for those things, because we do need to take back our culture, our culture of our church culture, where the pastor, the community, the church people had a very strong impact in the community, and that's a historical fact. And so that is missing. And so we want to thank you so much for those words that you just shared with us. Lieutenant Dunn, did you have something to add on to that?
You can't really add on to Lieutenant Thomas. No, I'm just no. Those are the things that we've talked about here. I've kicked them to other members of the staff, and we've talked about, and some of the things that we wrestle with is, are we doing enough, and what more can we do? And we've all talked about more partnering with the family element, the law enforcement element, and any other societal element out there, because I think what they say, the village, it takes a village to help raise a child, and law enforcement is a part of that village. And that's why pretty much on a daily basis, we're in a school inside that child's village, making contact with, making sure that they see us, making sure that in their terms of the school, making sure that their words are their community partners. And a lot of times when we go visit schools, they call us community helpers, community partners. They don't really refer to us as law enforcement a lot of times. And we want them to think that, hey, we are law enforcement, we have a job to do, but we're there for you, to help you. And that goes outside of law enforcement. And we're here for our kids pretty much from the time we contact them in pre-K or elementary school, all the way up to high school, and then on into adulthood. And it's good for me to see when some of them contact us back saying, hey, Lieutenant Dunn, how you doing? I'm graduating from college, and congratulations, keep up the good work. I've gone into the military, keep up the good work. And those I'm proud of, but the ones that we don't hear contacting, sometimes we have to worry about. And when we see that face on the news, and then we know we've tried to help, but like as Lieutenant Thomas said, we got to get them away from that culture. And I'd like to throw another word out there, that if to the parents or to anyone, not necessarily a parent, but anybody, any adult, if that child is not socializing with you, who are they socializing with? And a lot of times that brings in the culture, which Lieutenant Thomas talked about. That culture is very, very important. That socialization. People that do wrong things want to hang around people that do wrong things. But we've got to make sure that we culture, make sure we are there for them to do the right thing.
Yeah, thank you. It takes a group effort. I know that we're doing some little more research on what has been working, and they call them interrupters, people who can come in, and the greatest interrupter is the family that can come in, those families that can come in and say a couple words, and that is part of, if not intervening, it's prevention, and then there's post-traumatic situations that the kids need to deal with, who are victims of violence and who are perpetrators of violence. They have trauma too. And how do we address those things? So do you have any statements on that? And after that, I would like to ask Dr. Madeline, and she said here that God and family values everything, and it's true. Our whole, anyway, we know that, anyway, there's a system that we have to deal with to to cut that so that we can begin to rebuild the family values within our communities. Dr. Madeline Clark Alexander, are you there? I'd like to hear from you.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sure, Tom. Yeah, let Officer Thomas say something. I would like you to come on as well, Dr. Alexander.
Hey, I'm sorry, Doc, but I did want to say that we do have to get the information out there about trauma, especially for our culture. We gotta let our parents know and let our kids know it's okay that you're dealing with something. The problem, the thing is that you're dealing with something. For a long time, we get very offensive when people tell us meaning our culture, that we need to talk to somebody about our problem. We need to talk to a psychiatrist. Maybe that's some mental issues going on. Like that was a bad thing. That's a common thing now. And it don't necessarily be mental issue. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of a toy. But whatever the trauma is that some of our children are going through, we do need to address it. But it takes the whole village, it takes the family being involved to work out that trauma. So it takes a mom, or dad, grandma, uncle, whoever, to recognize that this young man or this woman is dealing with trauma, and we need to be their support. We need to help them through it. Sometimes even as grown people, we're dealing with trauma and don't realize we're dealing with it. You know, so you brought up a very good point about that, and we have to keep pushing resources, letting the community know where the resources are. But a resource is no good if you're not willing to receive the resource. So we got to start letting our people know we need commercials, we need advertisement, we need one-on-one conferences, and let them know, hey, whether you think you got trauma or not, still go talk to somebody. Still go seek further knowledge about what it is that you think that you know, because you might not know. But that's all, Doc. I ain't gonna hold up all your time, but I just wanted to say that was a very good point. And we are doing that in Macon, Georgia. We are putting information out there. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And there's another program that I was doing in reference to that, and this is important for all to know, is that it's almost a misnomer. You don't talk about mental illness in the African American community. So I was doing a mental health in the African American community, and I was dealing with the trauma that we have gone through historically, the trauma that is now within our communities that has not been addressed, and I think it contributes greatly to the dysfunction and the violence that are in our communities. Dr. Madeline, could you please come on, and then anybody else would like to share, would love to hear from others that are out there. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Greetings, everyone. I want to start off with saying, Lieutenant Thomas, you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, you drove it right in there. When we're talking about our community, it's so many things that has been taken away. Talk about the kids, and we go back to our time when there were plenty of basketball courts. You had street basketball playing, even if it was into the night. You had adult supervision, and it was okay for you to correct someone else's child. But now it's not. You know, we have become sort of isolated in our communities with that negativity. You talked about the shows that was on TV, and I was going to put this in the chat, but I said I would save it because I want to hear, you guys' opinion. What happened to the Jeffersons? What happened to the Cosbys? Was that systematically dismissed? Where those positive images were not, made available? Because when you talk about TV time, when you're talking about family time now, what do you watch? You know what I mean? So there's nothing to watch, which is okay, because that brings you back to family, and that brings you back to having that conversation with a child. How was your day? And if a child said their day is good, allow them to expound upon that. So many times in our culture, you're absolutely right. You have young parents that don't have parenting skills, and they're doing the same thing that their children are doing. But how do we start to repair that? How do we start to fix that? Reverend Oliver knows, my thing is I'm big on mental health in the African American community. You know, we did receive that information that it was a stigma. If you talk to someone, something was wrong with you. What goes on in this house stays in those house, but in that house. But we have to get away from that because we see that it's not working. It's not that we have to completely cross over into how other cultures live, but we need to adopt some of those behaviors because a lot of those cultures have been seeking help since birth. So
Right.
and that's what we want to take a look at. We want to take a look at what's going on and how to begin to repair it. Yes, the prevention is the answer. We do need to get into the elementary schools. We do need to, talk to them and have mentors and support them. Well, what do we do about the kids that's already out on the street? There's no way, I don't care what the stats look like. You can't tell me that some of those young guys that's out here that they've lost complete sense of their mind, but they have no wherewithal. Come on, the brains for some of these kids, the brain haven't even fully developed. The brain
Right.
doesn't fully develop until you're 25, 26 years old. You're talking about 18. You're talking about, let's go to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The young adults are getting access to these guns. How are they getting access to these guns? I'm a grown woman and I'll have to ask someone where to go and buy a gun. So we know they're not buying them. How are those guns getting into our communities? Back in the day, they used to talk about genocide.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have to talk about that any longer because they have given us the tool that's needed for us to kill ourselves. So yes,
Right.
let's take control of our communities. Let's take control. Well, before we can take control of our communities, we have to take control of our families.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take control of our families. We talk about single family homes, and a single parent home could be a male or female and be a single family. But yet we have some of those same issues in dual homes as well. So without God, we'll never be able to turn the situation around. Taking the prayer out of schools. Was that a strategic plot? But if you teach your child at home, you can pray anywhere. You can pray everywhere. So again, it starts at home and developing those family values, teaching our children how to pray at home, teaching our grandchildren how to pray at home. So wherever they go, they can be covered with prayer. This is a time where, and please make no mistake, sometimes I feel like the bottom has to fall completely out in order for something to be raised and lifted up. And I know that's one of the greatest fears in the United States of America, that the Black man is going to find out who he really is and come into his own. Amen. So as we move forward, we plan strategically the next steps to take. I'm sure Reverend Oliver is more than happy that you guys have just checked in for today. My soul has been lifted up because for me, it's nothing like a Black man knowing who he is and whose he is, because that is what's going to change the world. That's what's going to change the violence in our communities, because they're kings. They're kings. They're misunderstood. They're misled. And just like those negative things are coming into the communities, we can change that around for some positive things to come to communities and start acknowledging our young Black kings, our princesses, and our queens, simply because all are not bad. And I'm gonna stop right there because I can get into a sermon, Reverend Oliver, but I'm gonna hold on to that. And I thank and praise God for you guys coming on and fellowshipping and giving your expertise. Is powerful. It's powerful.
Can I make a comment? Hi everyone. Hi, my name is Reverend Davadi. I'm Macon-Bibb County Coordinator for UPF. I would like to thank you so much, Lieutenant Thomas. And I believe Colonel Carswell is here. Colonel Carswell is here as well, if you would like. Colonel Carswell also worked with the Sheriff Department, and Colonel Carswell has been very instrumental with Peace Road, with National Parents Day. Awesome, wonderful sheriff in our city. One thing I see in Macon-Bibb County, our mayor has a project called violence prevention. And not only that, he has the Council of Clergy that we meet every month. I was wondering if the pastors come together from all walks of life, and we have a luncheon every month. I was wondering if each pastor can maybe adopt 2 or 3 officers and to pray for them. Also, one thing that I do, I'm an evangelist, you know, I spend a lot of time with young people in the streets. I do a lot of street walk. Believe it or not, like a wall of Jericho has fallen down. There has been the areas that is shot, you know, like a gun violence. I walk, I pray, and a great result come about. So locally, how to deal with the, you know, prevention and stopping violence locally. I was wondering if this Council of Clergy can come in to somehow together with the police officers. If you have individual young people who are looking for a mentor. Many of these African-American Christian pastors, they are wonderful mentors for young men. So I am just, you know, proposing this, and our beloved Colonel Carswell is here. He's my pastor. He's my pastor. I go to his church, so he can make some comments maybe.
Reverend Davadi, I would like to hear from Carswell, Pastor. If you can unmute yourself, and then I see a law enforcement officer or Brother Sinclair. I'd like to hear from him as well. Go ahead. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. I will bring that up at the Council of Clergy next Thursday. We have a luncheon next Thursday. And I'll be sure to bring that up with Dr. Ficklin, what you suggested, Dr. Davadi. And it's great to hear from everybody, see everyone. I'm kind of mostly just listening today, but I'm grateful for what I'm hearing. And I believe we're going to get some positive results. So I yield to Captain Sinclair. Good afternoon to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Captain Sinclair. Lieutenant Thomas, he nailed it when he mentioned about our young people. I think it's going to take a community effort, and I think we're doing that here in Bibb County. And we just got to continue to stay positive and stay focused. And as a young lady just said a few minutes ago, all of our children are not bad. We have to accept, you know, what they're doing at the moment, but continue to be that positive, you know, change in their lives, so they know that they're loved and assured that they're going to be able to cope in this society. That's all I have to say at this time.
Thank you. Lieutenant Thomas, like you said, you nailed it. I'd like to say that I am also the vice president of UPF, which is the sponsor of this program, this webinar, but also the president of what we call the Moral Black Leadership Foundation. And what that entails also is what our brother Thomas and everyone was saying, is that we need to bring our community back to God. And we need to, our community historically has always played a very intricate role in the moral construct of this nation. If we go back to Martin, we go back to listening to we played a very strong, because the church was the crux of our foundation and the crux of our foundation for our community, and we're losing it. So the moral Black leadership is saying we need to go back to that. We need to take a moral stance and be proud of that moral stance and understand that it has always been the backbone of what we can contribute to not only our community, but we can contribute to America, and we can contribute to the world community in a positive manner. So I'm really happy to hear, especially the law enforcement brothers and gentlemen here who are really talking about our God being the foundation of what we are and how change can really come. And then God works through people. God works through programs, and we're looking at what are those things that are missing in the community or need to be reenacted in the community can help with the prevention, intervention, and the crime that we are facing. Anyone else? The floor is open for anyone else who wants to say something.
Thank you. That was pretty pretty intense. It was good to watch it again. Who had his hand up first? Wayne or Daryl? Okay, Wayne, and then after that, Daryl, because I know Daryl has to leave in a few minutes as well.
Let Daryl go before me. He can go before me.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Reverend Oliver, and thank you everybody, for being on this program. So many things come to my mind, and like Dr. Alexander said, that's content for a sermon, but I won't go there. But I believe in John 4:4, it talks about greater is he that is within you than he who is within the world. And so, that lieutenant, he spoke to that about God. And that's a big mistake that our society made when we took God out of the public making decision process. And so when you take God out of that decision making process and you start creating, I guess you can say, the environment where it becomes uncomfortable to talk about God, well, then what substitutes for that? And so, and then another thing too is that God is so profoundly important because we're talking about the author of truth. And if God is not culcated in that conversation, we will always continuously miss the mark of getting right to the subject matter in question. Because see, without God, you can't have really adult conversations. Without God, you can't. Because we're talking about the Declaration of Independence. Then they're talking about America was created by the 1919 Project. Because they're saying America was founded based on slavery. And then you have the Declaration of Independence, which talks about that man is created with unalienable rights given to him by God. And so you got this confusion about the source, of how America was created. And so what it does, it germinates a psychology of thinking that it's inevitable that we can't clean our act up because we're based on a foundation of a false premise that we were created outside the alignment of God's principles. And so I'm thinking of all of this. And so it's so many things to address in that area. It was another point that I really wanted to get home about, make home about. And I mean, the whole idea of prison reform, put back the law. God is a God of laws. And we have to put back, these prosecutors to prosecute criminals, but then at the same time, incorporate prison reform. Don't be bringing these slavery back again and you sugarcoat the slavery which is existing, where these prisoners are being contracted to make products. And so you have put prisoners in prison, and then you have prison reform so they can get back. People are redeemable. Nobody is without hope. It's so many things to incorporate, from what I take away from that. But that I just conclude. I hope all of that makes sense, guys. But thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right. And just one point, Wayne. I think Lieutenant Dunn kind of addressed that point that if we don't put God in, then who are we engaging with? And if we're engaging with the wrong type of mentality, then we're engaging outside of the realm of God's principles. And he was saying about, if you're not engaging with your parents in a positive way, then who are you engaging with? You know what I mean? So that's really a reality. Wayne, thank you so much.
Well, I love your comments, Daryl. That right on. I appreciate the beginning of this session where the statement that we need God back in every part of our human life is good. However, there's another discussion that is part of that is very important that I hear very little about. And it may be uncomfortable to hear it, but Satan is out there. And Satan is the force that is only there to lie, to destroy, to block God, to bring chaos and destruction. But if we do not know how it is and why it is that God has to deal with a being that comes into us, gives us impulses and to do the wrong things to one another. If we don't understand how Satan is working, how are we going to defeat this enemy? I think that's an important thing. Satan is real. Unfortunately, is real. God is more powerful. God has love, of course, but we need to know what it is that's driving so many of us to do bad things to one another. That's my comment, and that could be to Lieutenant Dunn or Thomas or anyone to make comment on. But thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you. Yeah, and it's true. I think I know this segment, Satan is universal, right? He has no really respect of color, gender, his tentacles and his plight is transcendent of time, space, and race. You know what I mean? And we're dealing with how he has penetrated, because he's clever, one demographic, then another demographics, and then another demographic. If you put it all together, you realize it's the same Satan, with the same motive and the same tactics. So you're right. The evil forces out there that as I used to say when I was a pastor, Satan is a liar, thief, and a master intimidator. And his own mission is to do what? To make you think he's going to win because everything seems like it's prevailing. And someone said here that you can't change it. So just give up. But that's a lie. That's what he wants you to believe. So when I listen to these law enforcement officers, it gives you hope, that no. There, in our community, we use the word able type, but let's say there are, gems out there that are shining, that still has power, and it's just our responsibility to bring them together, and we have the power to overwhelm that which is causing us to hate one another, when actually we are all brothers and sisters in the eyes of God. Anyone else? I don't know why I just keep looking at William Stoner.
Thank you very much for allowing me to share with you. As I've been growing up, I'm
thank you, Wayne.
Very amazed at how much the general culture from the whole nation influences small little neighborhoods, because I think it seems with each generation, the parents seem to kind of step back and be amazed at what the children are doing and thinking, and what projects they're into, thinking that they're doing something worthwhile. But I think as time increases, we're going to have more participation on the part of the parents, on the part of neighborhood groups, organizations, churches, to get involved in what the children are thinking, what they're participating in, what their future is, what they'd like to, what direction they want to go in. And I'm just really anxious that we can just invest more in the youth. I'm grateful for these kinds of conversations. So let's get more involved to help them.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Will. Bill. Anyone else for that? I think this year we're coming to closer, Bill, to bring those people together, and I look forward to having our conference, bringing all these strategic people together in one room. You know, that's what we do best. That's what, to those people in the audience who we're the sponsor of the sponsoring organization, the Family Federation. I mean, not Family Federation, UPF, Universal Peace Federation. Our founders, Reverend Moon and Mother Moon, Hakshahan Moon, they have the uncanny ability to bring a diverse people, diversity of different people, different religions, and different cultures and different races together in one room, and create an atmosphere that everything is trans. You know, you forget that you're Black, you forget that you're white. You just feel for the first time that all these people who are many times enemies can come together and feel a sense of love and appreciation for one another, just being in the atmosphere. And so we have to bring these best practices together, and in one room, these great people, you know, and all the demographics. As you remember, we had one young lady who came on who was from the Native American community, and she gave a really compelling story that, like they're with us, but many times they're not listening to what they're going through, and that's a different demographics that, as Wayne said, that Satan is, you know, trying to control as well, right? And so we want to, you know, thank everybody for their comments. We have a few more minutes. Anybody like to share any other comments with us? Some things that they glean. And I think that it's a good important, not I think, but I know that one of the essential points, even Dr. Jenkins always brings this particular segment up, and that's dealing with social media. How social media is a very, very important point to look at, that is influencing all our children throughout the country, throughout the world, in such a negative manner and fashion. Leslie, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I came on a little bit late, but it sounds like a fabulous discussion. Anyway, I appreciate what Daryl said about the beginning. You know, people are thinking about the beginning of our country and all this divisiveness. There are so many ways that there's divisiveness coming into our communities, and it trickles down to the children, and then they feel divided, and so they're looking for their group, which sometimes is a gang or something. So I think that as much as we can overcome these divisions and recognize that there are forces that are trying to divide us, and really be determined that we're going to overcome those forces. And I'm going to talk to you later, Reverend Oliver. I have a wonderful lady that's been working with UPF here in Las Vegas, and she teaches the one rule. And she says the one rule is agreement. So she's working with families and with young children. So if we can come to agreement in our families, we can come to agreement in our communities, then what a different world we would have. And of course, the core, as we understand it, is recognizing the divinity of each person and the value of each person. So, and I like what someone spoke about, encouraging pastors to find mentors in their church who can help the youth. Because over in the West Side here in Las Vegas, there are all these huge churches, but there's still, so many problems in the community, and maybe people don't know what they can do. So I love the kind of people that come on this call and how we can, help to develop this whole idea of mentors. But thank you so much. That's all I have to say. God bless you all.
God bless you. Thank you, Leslie. That is a very good point. John O'Connor, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you,
Welcome,
Reverend Oliver. Thank you. Well, I think we need to have some kind of a proclamation or national presence. I know you talked about quite a few times a national get-together, and I think this could be very important if we have material prepared, proclaiming certain things. Of course, believe in God and morality and things that hold the family together. I think that would help us it would make a good condition, I think, for our society, for America. And I would just encourage, Reverend Oliver, I know it's a lot of money and big operation to do, but see how we can get together and really, I say, proclaim these issues and put them all together in some kind of coherent way. And, I just have to say it would be, I think, an important thing for us to do eventually. So anyway, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So true. Anyone else, as we come to our close? We have like 2 minutes to the close. No, you can jump in anytime, but I want to thank everyone always for coming on. And John, you're correct. I say it all the time to the point where it'll be a post statement. I'll be talking about what occurred and what victory we had in that conference. Right? Yeah, we had that conference and this is what came out of it. So I look forward to that day. And want to thank everyone. I thought that each person in their own way, especially Thomas and all our speakers, just brothers and sisters that came on, and Officer Dunn, they hit some really very powerful points that we do have to look at and continuously look at. And that's why I really wanted to rerun this one, something special. Let's rerun this one. And actually was engaging, to really watch and hear and re-listen to the profundity of these good souls out there, people who are in law enforcement, people who are pastors, and people who are, community activists, and people who are, politicians that really are good souls that are out there. And I think the onus is on us to bring them together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to thank everyone again. We're at our close at 3 o'clock. We're all coming on. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, John. Thank you, Dr. Reverend Franklin. And thank you, Devati. And also thank you, Andrea, for your comment as well. And so God bless you. We'll see you next week. And I think we might have Taylor come on to do a follow-up. She wasn't able to come. And I realized going over her video that she talks about the origin of humanity and how we have to move forward. And I think it's more in conjunction with what Jim discussed in the whole concept of tribes. God bless you, everyone. Thank you for coming on. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
God bless.
Yay.
God bless.
Bless us one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Reverend Stoner.
Reverend Oliver, I had invited Reverend Jackson to come on next week. You still have an opening for him?
Yeah, I have, if he, yeah, sure. Maybe I'll put Taylor a week after that. It depends on if he's available. Then we move.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
No
make sure
problem.
we get a confirmation for you then.
Yeah, get a confirmation. Let me know. All right.
Okay.
If not, she can be a standby. God bless everyone. Thank you,
Thank
EJ. Thank you, Nadia.
One and all, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you, thank
Nadia.
you.
Yeah.
We are doing
John.
it, Nadia.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Leslie. Take care.
Yeah, you
Definitely,
too.
Phil,
My,
Leslie,
my
everybody.
son is enjoying Indiana. Okay.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.